Well, earlier I spoke via Skype to Professor Robert Kelly, who teaches international relations at Pusan University in South Korea. And I asked him why North Korea is deliberately increasing the diplomatic tension.
It's hard to know. The North Koreans don't actually tell us a great deal, and when they do, they frequently lie. So it's difficult for us to really know. I don't actually think the North Koreans want a conflict because they will lose. And so my own sense is this is probably internal. This is probably about sort of factional conflict within.
The North Koreans are making just about the most serious threats that they can, threatening military action as well as these economic measures, and the rest of the world is shrugging its shoulders as though it doesn't really matter. Should we be a little bit more concerned about what the North Koreans are up to?
Well, the Kaesong closure in the last 24 hours, if they follow through on it, if it's real, the Kaesong closure was a pretty big deal. The Kaesong export processing zone in North Korea does provide the North Korean government with a significant amount of hard currency, U.S. dollars specifically, with very few strings attached. The North Koreans have trouble raising money elsewhere. And so closing the Kaesong facility was actually a pretty significant moment.
As you say, it can be very difficult to interpret the motives of North Korea and what's really going on in Pyongyang. Does that mean there is the potential for misinterpretation and for things to spiral out of control because it's so difficult to communicate with them?
Yes, and that I think is the big threat here, right? The North Koreans have done these sorts of things before, right? But they've usually been sort of limited, provocative incidents. There were incidents in the demilitarized zone, for example. They sank the destroyer a few years ago. But these things, as nasty as they were, these have generally been contained. Right? What people worry about is that the new leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, doesn't really know, for lack of a better word, how to play this game, this sort of tit-for-tat back and forth, and that he might actually miscalculate about the South Koreans' willingness to strike back.
What's your prediction for how this ends?
My sense is that it's very, very unlikely there'll be a nuclear conflict. If the North Koreans use nuclear weapons, the Chinese will abandon them to their fate. I think most people agree with that. And there will be a massive invasion by the United States and South Korea into North Korea. It will tip the regime. I think the North Koreans will back down. They won't say that, of course. The North Koreans don't want a war. If there is a war, they'll lose.